All right. So there was a question from a few weeks back that I wanted to say something about, and that was regarding the Deviance chapters. Now, Deviance is one of my favorite topics to talk about because you start in one place, but you end up in a complete another place. You think Deviance is about um, who does bad things. In the old days, they would have called it nuts, sluts, and preverts class. Um, and every single one of those terms is so out of date that it's inappropriate. Uh, but the reason it works is because you're looking for people who are at the borders, at the edges of acceptable society in one way or another. And of course, clearly, some of those can be people with mental issues, people with sexually different behaviors. But there's a lot more to it than that. I think today's world, that's got to be some of what drives the popularity of like murder podcasts and stuff. Um, but as one of the people in the class asked, how do we understand deviance in terms of something like the Charlie Kirk murder? And, without wading too much into politics here, it's a good question because, on its face, certainly murder is deviant, right? Well, let's back up a little bit and think about what we've said elsewhere in the course about what deviance is. So deviance isn't just about the things people do or who people are. Deviance is, if you follow the logic all the way through, really about who belongs and who doesn't, as defined by behaviors, belonging, and sanctions, right? And so, at least that's Durkheim's point, and that's the one that's a fun one to take. So, to do it that way, you have to say what behaviors are acceptable and what aren't. You have to say what people are acceptable and which ones aren't. And so, in maybe an old-fashioned society, people would have said, that the next tribe over, they weren't us. And so no matter what the people in the next tribe over did, they never would have been accepted into my tribe, right? The other component is when somebody does something inappropriate, we will go ahead and sanction them. We're not the kind of people that steal from each other. We're not the kind of people who murder each other. We're not, that's not who we are as a community. And so you can see like different layers of sanction around all these different kinds of communities. Your church community has standards of expectations of behavior and membership. If you are truly Catholic, you will have gone through the sacraments. You will have pledged your confirmation sometime around 12 or 13. If you haven't done that, you're not really Catholic, right? You can go to church; they'll welcome you certainly, but you're not really one of them until you do the things that they say to do. Similarly, if you do something bad enough, you may get excommunicated from the Catholic Church. In the old days, if you did something bad enough, you might have gotten exiled from your community, your tribe. Nowadays, we don't really do exile so much, but there are things that you can do that are so bad that the state may consider using the death penalty against you. Okay, so when we look at something like the Charlie Kirk killing, part of why that is such a hot topic is because right now we seem to be in the middle of trying to understand who we are as Americans, right? And the blue folks have one vision, and the red folks have another vision. And Mr. Kirk was clearly on the red side and saying things that saying people that America should be a certain way that the blue people didn't agree with. There's no easy way to say this. This is all stupid. And so Mr. Kirk was never liked by any of the blue people that I know personally. But you know, the reasons were he was saying, I don't know what he was saying. I don't follow the news that closely. But there were things that were apparently not real friendly towards the LGBT crowd, not really friendly towards immigrants, and the blue crowd values both of those groups of people. The blue crowd wants to include LGBT and immigrants into their communities. The red crowd, you know, seems to be a little bit unsure, right? Anyway, so you have a person who takes it upon themselves to murder Mr. Kirk, and even that, not even that, what do I mean to say here? I mean, I want to say, obviously, this isn't the way we should deal with our political differences, but the world seems to be going that way. So, if you were of the politically blue crowd, and you felt your community as you defined it was existentially threatened by the things that Mr. Kirk said, clearly you were probably a little less aggrieved at his killing. I would say it would be rather tasteless for any of the blues to celebrate it, and I hope that they didn't, but the world being what it is, I'm sure some did. At the same time, if you're part of the red world, you see Mr. Kirk simply partaking in political expression. I mean, it's just straight up free speech. And he wasn't even a politician or anything. He's just an influencer, really, just a guy with an opinion that people will listen to. And if he is getting killed for simply speaking out a controversial position, then we're in a really scary world. You know, are we back to the 70s when Kennedy was shot, the Black Panthers were assassinated, MLK was assassinated for speaking out and saying something unpopular? That's not good at all. And so consequently, because free speech and the freedom of religion, and I do believe some of Kirk's opinions were religiously driven as well, then you see this as the worst kind of vigilanteism, because he's not even breaking any of the laws. In fact, he's exercising two of his constitutional rights. So being murdered by someone who simply disagreed, absolutely not okay. So there's a really interesting, from a sociological Durkheimian deviance perspective, again, politics aside, about what is going on here, because you've got the blue saying we're this kind of community, you've got the red saying we're this kind of community, you've got the entire U.S., which is going to say, presumably, hopefully, that whatever we disagree about, murder is not okay. And so the person who perpetrated this, as long as they're found guilty through all the proper channels, blah, 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 is likely to be sanctioned. You know, life in prison, maybe the death penalty, who knows. but it does give a different way of framing both what's going on with Kirk and what's going on with the country as a whole. And stepping down from that a little bit, the US has always been a community of communities, right? Some cities will say they're a city of neighborhoods. But different churches have different behavioral expectations. And they may, like we said earlier with Catholicism, they may boot someone out for not belonging. Different parts of the country have different behavioral expectations, and different subgroups have different behavioral expectations. So if you're a punker, or you're from San Francisco, or you're a Mormon, or you're a Catholic, or you're, whatever, all of those guys have to live in the realm of the U.S. as a whole. And the U.S. as a whole sets the laws for like the basic minimum. If you want to have your own community of people with higher or different standards of behavior, as long as they're not violating the fundamental standards of the United States, you're going to be fine. And people may like you, they may not like you. That sort of doesn't matter. Anyway, the Charlie Kirk thing makes me nervous just because it's so political. But one of you did ask about it, and it does give us an interesting way of trying to understand what we're getting at with Durkheim and Deviance. All right, thanks.